Kingston Crown Court Admin Office, hello.
Hello there. Excuse me. Oh, throat's not woken up yet this morning. I'm just wondering if you have like a clerk of court there that I can speak to, someone who would know about the role of the quarter sessions that the Crown Courts now have.
The what session, sorry?
There used to be a court of quarter sessions, and it got merged with the Crown Court.
Right.
So I was just wondering if there's someone there who would know about that.
What were the quarter sessions for?
Mostly for laying indictments.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't have them anymore for sure.
Well, you do. They've been merged with the Crown Court, so the Crown Court acts as a court of quarter sessions as well as a Crown Court.
Oh, okay. They're not. Well, yeah. What is it? Just for indictments? That would be for? Is it for?
Yeah, it would be for indictments.
Oh, okay.
So there will be a clerk there that I need to speak to. There will be someone there who knows about indictments and laying information.
Okay, let me try and put you through to Clark's. Oh, there's no one in the Clarkson at the moment. They're all in court.
Okay.
One option obviously would be, well, to call back at lunchtime. There'll be someone, or to email in, and we can obviously then refer it to them.
Okay. Well, I'm basically, in the good old days, someone would come into a quarter sessions court, and there would be a grand jury. Now, obviously, we don't have grand juries. Well, they're not being administrated anymore as grand juries. So the idea now is that the judge that sits in court is competent in matters of law, obviously,
yep.
And the idea is that you lay an information indictment in front of the court or before the court in terms of what the wrongdoing would be. So, have you ever heard of that happening in Kingston Crown Court in your experience?
Not since I've been working here. I've been working here a while, and it's not something I've heard of. It may have been previous to 4 years ago or so, but it's not something I've heard of.
It would be very rare because it would essentially be like a private suit. So that's as rare as unicorns nowadays. Okay, so all the clerks are busy at the moment. You said they're all seated in court.
Yeah.
So it might be worth just driving up there and having a word.
You could do, or you might be better. I'd suggest sending in an email first, and then they can give you the information.
Well, who's the clerk there?
Well, there's all clerks obviously for each court. Some are doubled up, but there's not. They're obviously not allocated to one judge. They sit in different courts depending on that list.
Right.
On the list for that day. So.
Well, who's the head? There must be. Is there not a senior clerk at Kingston? Who's the most senior?
There isn't a senior. Well, there are more senior clerks, and then obviously there's the clerk's manager.
Right. Okay. Well,
but
does the clerk's manager have any court functions, or is she like an admin?
Yeah, she's like an admin, basically. And
so
then
she doesn't sit in court?
No, she used to. She doesn't anymore.
Doesn't anymore. All right. Okay.
No. So obviously you could either send us an email, we'll pass it on to the clerks, and they can get back to you, or you can call later and when there's obviously someone in.
Well, I'd rather put it. Can I put it in writing? So, what's the name and address of the person I can put it in writing to?
The name is Nisha, Nisha.
Yeah.
Carwell, Karwal.
Karwal. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just Kingston Crown Court, is it? Something?
Yeah, 6 to 8 Penryn Road.
Kingston Crown Court. Okay. And what's her job title?
She's court clerk's manager.
Court.
Well, she's court clerk's delivery manager.
Delivery?
Delivery manager, yeah.
As in like delivering a parcel, delivery?
No, as in delivering of that duty as manager of the team.
So does she assign the cases for the day and who sits where?
She'll allocate, the clerks.
What judges sit where and what clerks sit where?
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Now, does the Crown Court... because my understanding is it used to be part of Court of Common Pleas, and you had the Crown side as well. The Crown side dealt with criminal matters, which is what you mostly deal with, and then the Common Pleas used to deal with all the civil matters. Now, is the Crown Court? Do you ever, in your experience of being in court in general, have you ever heard of any civil matters being resolved there? As part of a criminal.
No,
claim.
It's only if, say, one of our judges was a civil judge. They sometimes have civil matters heard here, but otherwise the civil matters obviously heard at the county court.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I'm just saying, if there's a criminal, well, I say criminal. Obviously, I'm not trained in criminal, but if there's something that would be akin to a crime, and it had a civil, like a debt element to it, is that something, instead of having to skip over to the county court? My understanding that Crown Court has jurisdiction over criminal and let's say civil debt matters.
Yeah, I've only ever seen where a civil judge who comes to be a Crown Court judge deals with a civil matter separately to the Crown matters. I've never seen it where you've had a case which is obviously related to a civil matter heard at the same time as well.
So let's say someone stabbed someone, and I don't know, they took some. Well, I suppose stealing money would be a crime as well. But let's say they didn't pay a loan,
right? Like
a private loan of £500, and then when the guy said, "Can I have my money?" he stabbed him. You know what I mean? There we go. There's a good example. So let's say in that matter, the stabbing is the criminal act, and yet the guy still wants to collect his £500 as a debt matter. So could that not be put together?
I've never seen that. I've only ever seen it where it's separate, where you have the civil proceedings and the Crown proceedings.
Okay, because
it would need to be someone who's, what I would say, legally trained, who would say whether that. I think it would depend on the case, obviously, as well, and the particular judge.
Well, it's just to save court time, isn't it? Because it's going to be a faff going into one court and then saying, right, everyone, let's go back over to this court over here in county to get it resolved.
Yeah, I've only ever seen where they can have obviously parallel matters going on, but one where it's been heard at the county and one where there's obviously other matters here, not where they've been merged, the county matters to be heard here as well at the same time.
So they would separate it out there, is what you're saying? They would have.
That's what I've seen. Yeah, I've never seen it where where it's a separate county matter and the judge is dealing with that here. Normally because they've sat as a civil judge previously.
Okay, so can you just highlight to me? You said you've seen a civil judge come over to the Crown Court once. What was that? Can I just a brief kind of description of what that was all about?
I wouldn't know the particulars because we work in the admin office. We wouldn't see the particulars of the case, but I've seen it where we've had family and civil judges and they've had matters which they're still dealing with be heard here,
right? But
under the civil jurisdiction.
Is that just out of convenience?
Yeah, I would think so.
Not just because the courthouse is closer as opposed to going somewhere.
Yeah, and obviously they're now sitting here.
Oh, I see. Right, okay, and they might be on duty here. So all right, okay. So that's just out of convenience, really, for the court, possibly the parties. Yeah. All right, okay. So basically, you're asking me to write to Nisha. I mean, is it possible to arrange a meeting with Nisha?
That would have to be done, obviously, with prior arrangement.
Yeah, of course.
So, if you wanted to request that, obviously, then do that, and then she'd be able to apply, or one of the clerks would reply. But I would include that in your letter.
Right. Okay. And presumably all the clerks there are legally trained and qualified, are they?
No, the clerks aren't legally trained here. It's only obviously the judge, the magistrates' court they are, but not the Crown Court, because obviously the judge is legally trained and the barristers are.
Oh, okay. So the clerk is literally a clerk.
Yeah. I mean, there are occasions when they obviously have a law background, but it's not necessary for them to be legally trained.
Right, okay, so because the judges are all barristers and whatnot.
Exactly.
So they should know what they're talking about in theory. Right, interesting. So I think that's it. So, do you have any procedures there about indictments?
I've only ever seen where it's an indictment relating to the case where they have where they want to sever or joinder, but it's in relation to an actual case which has already got proceedings here.
Well, because the reason I ask is that criminal proceedings have to start, from my understanding, going down there and banging my head against the wall, is criminal proceedings have to start at magistrates' court.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that's because they're criminal and they're legally defined, and I'm not legally qualified, and hence I kind of had a eureka moment. I think that's why I'm getting nowhere down there. And then that's when I started digging around about, well, what's happened to the Quarter Sessions, and the Quarter Sessions got merged with Crown. I thought, well, that makes sense, because where I would go into, it would be literally Kingston County Hall. It wouldn't always necessarily be the courthouse. It could be even the county hall, and they would have a grand jury there. An indictment would be laid before the grand jury, and it'd be given a true bill or a not true bill. Right. And they got rid of that because apparently admin was a nightmare. So they just thought, instead of having all these grand juries sitting up and down the countries, we can rely on our judges to be impartial, because obviously that's what they're supposed to be doing, is to sit and listen. And if someone lays an information of such a nature in front of a Crown Court judge, it's presumably accepted on face value, because no one in their right mind would tell porcupines to a judge in front of a court. So so that's essentially where I am with my understanding of this. So and why going to the magistrates' court, I'm getting into the criminal procedures rules. You understand? And I'm always going to mess them up because I've had no criminal or legal training. So it's just going to be a horror show. So in terms of presenting a case and facts and evidence before a jury, that kind of makes more sense to me, because none of the juries are legally trained, but they'll take it on their own moral advice, or moral conscience, whether they think it's a good case or a bad case. In that respect, you see, and that kind of why it starts making more sense to me, that why I wouldn't be going down the criminal procedures rules. I'd be going for an indictment, presenting my case to a jury, and if the jury thinks I'm full of rubbish, then they'll tell me to go away, and if the jury thinks I've got a good case, then they'll say yay.
Because it's obviously separate to the normally it would be obviously CPS who they'd instigate the magistrates' court hearing and the police, and then it would then be committed to us. Yeah,
but that's all through criminal and legal.
Yeah.
And of course people aren't legally qualified, and they always had access to grand juries, and that's obviously that's gone and been the merger. This merger of court sessions with Crown Court is literally, it's almost as if you turn up in front of a Crown Court. You probably tell the usher to speak to, I wish to lay an information or an indictment, I think is the proper term, to before the judge. The judge will probably listen to you and say, well, have you got facts and evidence and witnesses? And he says, well, okay, then you either issue a subpoena or a summons.
Yeah.
And that's my understanding, and unless I'm gravely mistaken, that seems the proper way of doing it.
Yeah, it does seem the proper way. As I said, I would check whether that's still something that we would do here. But the clerks would know that, because they'd have had dealings with it.
Well, I hope so, because this is from what I read about the Quarter Sessions. I mean, it was central government is what merged the Quarter Sessions with Crown. So unless there's been some massive change since then, but obviously the people have to have some sort of remedy for injustice terms, where they don't have to go to a university and get a law degree in order to get a case heard before a judge and a jury. Yeah,
for sure. The only other thing, obviously, would be to get legal advice, but that would be the.
Well, it shouldn't require it. That's the point of it. You don't need legal advice to speak to a jury.
No, but as I said, if you send that in, then they'll obviously update you on the current procedures.
Okay. Well, that sounds lovely. I'll pose the question about the because my understanding is the Crown Court, or at least the Crown side of the court, is I think it superintends is the word that they use in the book that I read, that it superintends all jurisdictions. So and all jurisdictions would be county as well as criminal, as well as unlawful acts, so to speak. Yeah. So I'll ask her if the matter can be heard